In the wee hours of the morning, Monte de San Pedro Park transformed from a serene refuge to an eerily lit crime scene. Floodlights punctured the dawn's soft glow, casting long shadows as the rhythmic waves of the Atlantic crashed against the cliffs below. The tapestry of A Coruña's waking cityscape was marred by an ominous aura of fear. Within the police-secured perimeter, Pepe Miguel, his German shepherds by his side, exchanged a somber glance with Detective Sergio Martinez. The crowd of spectators beyond the yellow tape served as a constant reminder of their shared responsibility to the city they love. Sergio, Pepe broke the silence, his gaze fixed on the foreboding scallop symbol carved on the victim's body. This symbol, it's not just a madman's art, is it? The quiet conviction in Pepe's voice gave Sergio pause. Sergio turned to face his old friend, an uneasy flicker in his eyes. He finally nodded, a sigh of resignation escaping him. You're right, Pepe. This scallop. It's not the first time it's shown up. Pepe felt his stomach tighten. Other victims? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Yes, Sergio admitted. 4 in the past 2 years. All had the same symbol on their skin, each done with a branding iron. We never found the original crime scenes. The bodies were always discarded or left somewhere to be found. The revelation sent a chill down Pepe's spine. A serial killer? He muttered, the phrase hanging heavy in the air. But this one's different, Sergio continued. It's the first body found where the murder happened. This wasn't a planned kill. It was opportunistic. Pepe Miguel fell silent, his mind whirling with the new information. The deviation in the killer's pattern suggested a dangerous escalation. Sergio, Pepe began, his voice trailing off. Suddenly, unbidden memories flooded his mind. The Alvarado case, the suffocating weight of the badge against his chest, the wailing of sirens through the city. A dimly lit room, crimson stains, the face of his wife frozen in a photograph, her eyes forever capturing a happier time before the tragedy. It was the case that had driven him away from criminal investigations, the scars from which he still hadn't healed. Shaking his head, Pepe tried to clear the fog of the past, but the parallels between the two cases were too striking to ignore. His gaze met Sergio's, the understanding between apparent. Though years had passed since the Alvarado case, its implications and trauma were as raw as the day it had all come crashing down. It wasn't just the murder that haunted him, but the aftermath, the sleepless nights, the media frenzy, and the agonizing weight of personal loss intertwined with professional responsibility. The city had once again become the playground for a predator, and while the players had changed, the game was all too familiar. Sergio squinted against the rising sun, clasping his hands together as he relayed more of the gruesome details. The other victims, Pepe, were all women, same as our victim today. Different ages, different backgrounds, but all had ties to the city. Pepe frowned. Any patterns? Sergio shrugged, a grim line settling onto his face. It's been hard to piece together. The killings are sporadic, sometimes months apart. The only constant is the scallop symbol. Forensics suspect they might have been done post-mortem, but we're still looking into it. Pepe grunted in acknowledgement, mulling over the information. Has the press caught wind of this? He asked. Not yet, Sergio replied. We've been careful, kept the branding detail out of the reports. Last thing we need is a city-wide panic. Pepe nodded, his mind abuzz with grim possibilities. Any leads on who might be responsible? We've had our suspicions, interviewed a few suspects, but nothing substantial. We're hoping the location of this crime might give us more to work with, Sergio replied. Pepe watched as the crime scene investigators moved around, meticulously collecting evidence. He knew this case would be consuming his thoughts, sleepless nights, and peaceful mornings in the park. Sergio let out a sigh, his breath visible in the crisp morning air. Pepe, we could really use a hand on this. I've seen your work. You're the best PI in Galicia, if not all of Spain. I know this isn't your usual line of work, but... Pepe cut him off with a slight wave of his hand. Say no more, Sergio. Memories of dark times and personal losses flashed briefly in his eyes. Seeing this again, being here with you, it stirs things up. This isn't just another case for me. It reminds me of what I lost, of what the city lost. He paused, his gaze fixed on the distant Hercules Tower. We'll find him. We'll put an end to this. Sergio nodded, mirroring his old friend's determination. We have to, Pepe. For the city and for them. He glanced at the lifeless body being zipped into a bag. We owe them that much. Pepe's gaze followed Sergio's, lingering on the crime scene before them. It was a silent reminder of the urgency and gravity of the situation. Taking a deep breath, Pepe finally turned to his old friend. You mentioned the other victims? Sergio nodded, relief flooding his face. Thank you, Pepe. I'll share the files on the other victims with you. We need fresh eyes, new perspectives. Perhaps you'll see something we've missed. They stood there in silence for a moment, each lost in his thoughts. The tranquil sounds of the morning were a stark contrast to the dark reality they were now facing. Finally, Pepe turned to leave. Keep me updated, Sergio. Anything, no matter how small it seems, could be the break we need. His voice was steady, eyes determined. Sergio clapped him on the shoulder. We'll do, Pepe, and same goes for you. We're in this together. As Pepe Miguel descended from Monte de San Pedro, a new resolve took hold. A predator was in their midst, and it was their duty to protect the city they loved. He would stop at nothing to bring justice to the victims and safety back to A Coruña.